Today we're going to be talking about leaded solder and the different kinds of alloys and flux core and all that stuff that you can buy. So technically speaking, there is a lot of different leaded solder alloys, but we're going to be talking about the main few that you're going to come across when it comes to repair work. I also have to add that I'm coming from a microsoldering and repair background, and we use leaded solder in order to enable us to use less heat on either our iron or more likely to use less heat on our hot air stations. A lot of these chips, if you keep heating them over and over again, are just gonna die. So using leaded solder enables us to use less heat on our tools and put the PCB through less stress as well, not just the components. So first, let's talk about leaded solder alloys and the primary alloys you're gonna be coming across when it comes to leaded solder. There are plenty leaded solder alloys, so these are not the only ones. These are just the ones I have, and I think these are the ones you are most likely going to come across. So the first one here is what you'll probably get if you just buy any leaded solder on Amazon. You're going to get this 60-40 alloy, which is 60% tin, 40% lead. I personally don't like this stuff because it is not eutectic. And what that means is there's a small temperature range with this stuff where it is in between a fully liquid state and fully solid state. So 60-40 solder is generally fully solidified at around 183 degrees Celsius. And fully liquefied or melted at around 190 degrees Celsius. So there is that 7 degrees Celsius range where this stuff is sort of like in between states, and it makes for this weird like mushy state that I'll definitely show you in a moment here when we use it on the board. But because of that plastic state, if you end up moving the components around while they're solidifying, it's going to make for this like ugly gray dull color of the solder, and it's going to be a weaker solder joint than you get if you were to hold it completely still. So it's easier, in my opinion, to make poor joints with this stuff versus the eutectic stuff. The next alloy is going to be 63-37. So this is going to be 63% tin and 37% lead. And I know that doesn't seem like that big of a difference between the 60-40 stuff and the 63-37 stuff. However, it is a massive difference with how this stuff behaves on the board, especially under the microscope. So contrary to this stuff is eutectic, which means it solidifies and liquefies at the exact same temperature, at the exact same point. So this stuff solidifies and liquefies at 183 degrees Celsius. So in a moment here, you guys are going to see the difference between how this behaves on the board versus this. But effectively, this has no plastic range and just sort of goes almost immediately from liquid to solid state. Of course, if you have a big blob of the solder, parts of that blob are going to be 183 before the other parts. So you still may see sort of a slow change of the solder if you have a big blob of it, but still you will see a huge difference between these two when I show you them later. So in order to sort of accentuate the difference between these two, I'm going to solder to this larger pad, the center of this little QFN footprint here. And we have the 60-40 first. So these are going to also have some different types of flux core in them. But anyways, this is going to be our 60-40 solder right there. So you can see this is the 63-37, and already you can kind of see the 63-37 generally makes slightly shinier joints or little blobs. The type of flux that's in the solder wire or the additional flux that you use on top of that is going to also impact sort of the shininess of the solder itself. But where it gets a little bit more interesting is how it sort of behaves when you apply heat. So I'm gonna get the hot air out here, and we're gonna melt this solder with the hot air and get the entire area up to like a similar temperature. All right, so we've got both liquefied here. And what I'm gonna do is just allow them to solidify again by themselves. And let's look at the difference between the two. We're gonna watch what happens to each of these as they solidify. So the 60-40 should look a little bit more like weird, for lack of a better word, as it starts to solidify. There you go, you can see that compared to this. So I'm just going to refer to these as eutectic and non-eutectic. So for the non-eutectic one, you can see it is very grainy. It's solidified in sort of a little bit of a weird way. And that's because during that plastic range, some of the solder was moving around while it was solidifying, and it creates for this weird, gross texture. And this is not what you want to see on solder joints. It's going to create for weaker and a little bit more brittle solder joints than something that's going to look like this did initially, or like this eutectic solder looks like now. So you can see the eutectic solder pretty much is still fully shiny. Generally speaking, this is just instantly solidifying and is not able to really move around while it's solidifying, if that makes sense, which creates for this nice shiny joint. And keep in mind, this was without any component or any tweezers that could potentially move the component around. So I'm going to show you now what happens if you move this stuff around while it is solidifying. Obviously, this is without flux, but I do just want to sort of, again, accentuate the difference between these two alloys. for you. Flux definitely helps the issues you're going to see here. So we have both of these fully liquid again, and I'm going to move this around while it solidifies. And check out how horrible that looks. Now this one's not going to look too much better when we do the same thing, but it is going to definitely look different. You'll see in a moment here what I mean. So I'm going to melt this one again, and we'll move this one around while it solidifies. And I actually can't even move that around anymore because it just solidified. So we could try that again actually. And I'm going to start moving it around, and my tweezers are probably just going to end up getting stuck in here eventually. Okay, no. So you can see the difference between these two. Neither of these look very pretty, and this is what happens when you move components around without flux while they solidify. However, you can hopefully see that the Eutectic alloy here is shiny throughout still, even though we've moved it around quite a bit and made a gross looking heap. So now if we reflow these, and I just sort of do a little thing here to get some of this oxidation off of the top of the solder. That's all oxidation there. You can see underneath it, it's shiny once we liquefy it again. And now if I let them go, they're both going to be, you know, back to where they were. So you can see this one's going back to being grainy, and this one's going back to being shiny. And this last one here, I'm really excited to try out. I actually haven't tried this yet. This is a brand new roll that I just bought, and this actually has silver in it. So this one is 62% tin, 36% lead, and 2% silver. And you can see it's a very similar alloy to the 6337 stuff. So we're just a little bit off on the tin and lead contents there, and that is sort of replaced with the silver. So this stuff is actually not technically fully eutectic. However, it only has a 1 degree Celsius plastic range. So it's fully solidified at about 179 degrees Celsius and fully liquefied at about 180 degrees Celsius. So it's just that 1 degree Celsius plastic range versus the 7 degree one with this. And I don't actually know how this behaves yet. I'm really excited to give this a shot. Apparently it behaves like Eutectic alloy on the board in practice, but again, I haven't personally used it, so I can't vouch for that, at least until we give it a shot today. Some of the main benefits of having the silver in here versus just having the fully Eutectic alloy is that this is actually going to make some more strong joints, some more reliable joints than the 6337. So it's a bit more resistant to microfractures and things. Not to mention, for the sake of repair work, it actually melts at a slightly lower temperature, 3 degrees Celsius difference between the 6337 and this stuff with the silver in it, which I know 3 degrees Celsius doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be quite a lot when you're dealing with retro boards and things that are prone to delamination and, you know, really sensitive components and things like that. It is worth noting that this will have marginally more tip wear. Apparently the silver does eat through the iron plating on your soldering iron a little bit faster than normal 6337 would. So just worth noting that that's the case with this one versus this one, even though it does make for stronger joints and apparently slightly shinier joints as well. I'll quickly mention low melt solder because certain low melt solders do contain lead. However, the primary element that's in here that is helping lower the melting temperature is bismuth, and this stuff comes in all shapes and sizes, different melting temperatures. Sometimes they contain lead, sometimes they don't. This stuff is not good for reliable joints in any way. It's actually extremely brittle, but its sole purpose is to help you remove components easier. So you can use this stuff for high thermal mass components like HDMI ports or just large ports in general. Or if you're trying to remove like joysticks from controllers, I know a lot of people have trouble with that. This stuff can help with those sorts of things. You definitely should not be using this stuff to solder the components to the board. So I did just want to throw that one in there. We're not going to be talking about this today anymore. We're just going to be focusing on these 3 alloys. So next we're going to be talking about the other kinds of specifications you'll see on solder wire. You don't just have different kinds of alloy, but you'll also come across different types of flux in the core of the solder wire. So you can actually get solder wire. I don't have any with me, but you can get solder wire that doesn't have any flux in it so that you can just use whatever flux you want to with the solder. But we do have a rosin core solder here, and this one is actually a no clean. Generally speaking, the rosin core solder is sort of the more popular variation of this stuff, and it is going to be a little bit harder to clean off of the board than the no clean stuff. And it's worth noting that the no clean stuff and the rosin and basically anything, I recommend cleaning off of the board anyways, even if it says it's no clean. Doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't clean it. But anyways, that's not the only difference between the flux in each of these wires. We also have a percentage that is by weight. So this is also sometimes misunderstood. This is 3.3% flux by weight. And this percentage actually ends up being different depending on the diameter of the solder. So here we also have a diameter listed here. We have 0.5 millimeters, or we can also have a 0.8 millimeters. So this is a bit thicker. You can actually see the difference visually pretty easily if I show you guys these under the microscope. And I also have a 0.3 millimeter one here, which is extra thin. So you can see the difference between all these. This is the 0.3 millimeter at the top, the 0.5 millimeter, 0.6, and then 0.8. So you can see especially between the 0.8 and the 0.3 how big of a difference that is. And especially when you're under the microscope and working on small legs of components, these smaller diameters end up becoming more useful. But the other thing that the diameter means is the percentage of the flux listed on the solder is going to sort of change per centimeter based on how thick the solder is. So when you have similar diameters, of course, the 3.3% flux is going to be more than the 2.2% flux that comes in this chip quick when we have the same 0.5 millimeter diameter. But it can be a little bit more confusing when you're trying to compare solder that they both have 2% flux about, but this one is 0.5 and this one's 0.3. The 0.5 millimeter solder is actually going to end up having more than twice the amount of flux per centimeter than this wire is. So just be aware that the percentage listed for flux content on the solder wires is by weight. It's worth noting that the no clean flux cores are generally a lot less active than the rosin core solders, so it's not going to handle like oxidation on pads as well. But in my case, I'm almost always using extra flux paste on top of whatever's in the core of the solder wire. But I figured I would give this no clean stuff a try, and I really wanted to try the silver stuff. So let's get into some soldering. So next, let's see how this chip quick silver solder works and sort of compare that in a similar way here. So let's see how this silver stuff looks. So there's the silver solder. Obviously, you can see there's not a lot of flux core there, so we're not really getting a shiny joint to begin with because there's not a lot of flux. But there it is. Let's reflow this and see how this sort of looks after it gets reflowed. So that's nice and melted now, and I'm just going to let go and let it do its thing and solidify, and we'll see if it's more like the non-eutectic or more like the eutectic. So I would say this is actually more similar to the eutectic than the non-eutectic, which makes sense based on the plastic range being only 1 degree Celsius. And we can do the same sort of test here, just moving around the solder a little bit while it's solidifying. So I'm just going to remove the heat now and continue to move it around. And let's see how this behaves. And actually, there was a period of time there where I just couldn't move it really. So let me try that one more time. Make sure we get plenty of heat in the board there. And let's try that again. So I'm just going to try to keep moving it. And it has this point at which it's really difficult to move around, even compared to the normal 6337 eutectic stuff. And we're going to go for right here. Actually, let's use some extra flux. So that's the silver. And then this one here is going to be the Eutectic 6337. And then this one here, let me clean my iron again, and we're going to do the 6040 at the bottom here. And obviously I put a lot more of that on there than the other ones, so maybe we can go back through and add more just so we can maybe see a bigger difference between these. Again, I'm cleaning my iron between adding all of these. Okay, cool. There we go. I do actually see the difference here with the silver solder now compared to the other two here. It is slightly shinier. So yeah, you can see the silver one is slightly shinier than the other two. The other two look pretty identical at this point. I guess at this point we can heat from the bottom and add a little bit of flux and see how each of these sort of solidify in comparison to each other without any disturbance outside of just having some flux on there. So you can see these are all now liquefied. They all look pretty identical when they're liquid, and I'm going to remove the heat. We're going to watch each of them as they solidify again. So again, the bottom left is the silver one. Top one is going to be the Eutectic 6337, and the right hand side is the non-Eutectic 6040. And there we go. We're starting to see the 6040 solidify. We have the 6337 solidifying, and it's gonna make sense that the silver one stays liquid for longer than the other two. I think it actually just solidified. It makes sense that the silver one stayed liquid longer because it has a lower melting temperature. So it is interesting to me that the silver one ended up doing the best here. I would assume that it would be sort of in between the 6337 and the 6040 solder, but it is sort of like its own thing over here. And it is very shiny even after just reflowing that. So I don't know, definitely a really interesting solder. I'm excited to try this out with actually soldering some components on the board. So next, I'm just gonna solder some components on the board here. So we're gonna use the 6040 solder first. And these are just going to be little ICs. All right, so I got that in place with some hot air. This is the, again, 6040. And now I'm going to go through and do a little drag soldering with this thing. So you can see this is a little bit nicer because I'm not just burning all the flux away with the high temp. So that's how that one behaved. Let's go over here and do the 6337. All right, and drag soldering with the 6337 there. And again, I used a little too much solder on this one here, so pull that off. There we go. All right, and drag soldering with the silver stuff. I'm doing a poor job of it, but there we go. Let's do the other side here. And all right, and that is looking good there. So now let's clean this whole board up and see and compare each of these alloys and how they look. So here we have the 6040, which is a little bit more dull, even with the excess flux that we were using. This is the 6337, which is slightly shinier. And I do actually think that this silver solder is slightly shinier, but if not the exact same. I can tell you it does behave similarly to the Eutectic so far versus the 6040. So in my opinion, this does sort of behave as Eutectic, even though it's technically not exactly Eutectic. To be honest, it's going to be a lot more interesting over time how each of these alloys behave on your bench, depending on the types of soldering you're doing and the method you're using to heat the board and the components and the solder, and whether or not you're doing SMD or through hole or both. So all that to say is this was not meant to be a comparison or a competition between different brands of solders and stuff. I just wanted to sort of talk about the different types of leaded solder alloys, what the difference is between them, and why I personally like certain ones. You can see if you use the right methods, all of these solders are sufficient for any type of soldering. However, you are going to have, I think, as a beginner, a much easier time with 6337. It's cheaper than the silver stuff. I definitely recommend the 6337 for anybody getting started. And I can't really say much about the silver stuff yet outside of the little tests we did today. So I'm going to start using this on my bench and in my repairs and things from now on for the next little bit, and maybe I'll have some more interesting things to say about it later on. But anyways, I hope this was a helpful video to distinguish between the different types of alloys, the different types of leaded alloys that you can buy, and how you can find one that is right for your applications. But otherwise, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.